Supermax, American Prison Hell. The true story of life inside the harshest U.S. lockdowns. The door that never opens. The metal door slammed shut so hard it shook the whole hallway. Inmate Marcus froze as the thick steel locked behind him. This was no normal prison cell. This was a Supermax cell, a small concrete box built to break even the strongest men. Inside, the lights were always the same. Day and night looked no different. He couldn't tell if it was morning or midnight. He stood still, breathing slowly, because just above his head, a small black camera watched his every move. No privacy. No sound. No escape. On the other side of the wall, a guard's voice echoed through the speaker. "Welcome to your new home. 23 hours a day. Alone." Marcus swallowed hard. His heart beat faster. He hadn't even sat down yet. And already he felt like the walls were closing in. This was America's Supermax. A place built for the worst of the worst. But inside, everyone looked the same. Tired, silent, and slowly fading. Marcus whispered to himself, "How do people survive this?" And that is where our story begins. The reality of Supermax life. When Marcus first arrived, he thought he understood the rules. He thought a Supermax was just a tough version of a regular prison. But the truth hit him the moment he stepped inside. Rule number 1. No talking. Not to guards. Not to other inmates. Not to anyone. Rule number 2. No movement without permission. Every step was controlled. Every moment was watched. Rule number 3. No physical contact. Not even handshakes. Not even with medical staff. Marcus walked down a hallway where the sound echoed like an empty cave. Each cell door had a tiny slot, just big enough for a food tray. No windows to the outside world. Only a small slit near the ceiling that let in a weak line of light. Inside his cell, the bed was a thin mattress on concrete. The toilet was stainless steel. And everything was bolted down, nothing could move. The silence was so strong that Marcus could hear his own heartbeat. He tried talking just to hear his voice bounce off the walls. But even his whisper felt too loud. Across the hallway, another inmate banged his fist on the door once. One single hit. That's all. But in Supermax, that sound meant something. Commit. "I'm still here. I'm still alive. I'm trying to hold on." Marcus sat on his bed, staring at the door, realizing something clear. This place wasn't just built to hold people. It was built to control their mind. He remembered what someone told him during transport. In Supermax, the punishment is the silence. And now he understood. The 23-hour lockdown. Marcus woke up the next morning, but it didn't feel like morning. The lights inside his cell never changed. There was no sunrise, bluebirds, no footsteps outside. Just the same cold, white glow from the ceiling. His food tray slid through the slot in the door with a metal scrape. No "good morning." No voice. Just a hand, and then silence again. He looked at the tray, a small scoop of oatmeal, a piece of bread, and a carton of milk. Nothing more. Nothing less. Every day looked the same. He tapped the steel door softly. Not because he wanted trouble, but because he wanted to know if anyone else was awake. 2 taps echoed back. Someone across the hall had heard him. But the unspoken rule was clear. Don't talk. Don't whisper. Don't risk it. Marcus sat down and tried to eat slowly, stretching out the small meal. He knew this was the start of his 23-hour lockdown. Only 1 hour a day, if he was lucky, would he leave this concrete box. He tried to stay calm. He counted the cracks in the wall. He folded his blanket. He wrote imaginary letters in his mind. Anything to keep his mind moving. But the silence played tricks. He started thinking he heard footsteps, then whispers, then voices calling his name. But no one was there. This was why people said Supermax wasn't about the food, or the rules, or even the punishments. It was about time. Time slowed down. Time stretched. Time felt like it stopped. Marcus took a deep breath, reminding himself, "Hold on. Don't lose yourself." After hours of waiting, the speaker finally clicked on. A guard's voice called out, "Recreation time. 1 hour. Step back from the door." Marcus stepped back. His heart raced. This was the only hour of the day he wasn't locked inside. The door slid open slowly, like it didn't want to let him go. 2 guards stood there, watching every move. His wrists were cuffed. His ankles shackled. Chains connected everything. Before he even took a step, he heard the warning. No sudden movements. Marcus nodded. He was led down a hallway into a small, outdoor cage. Barely big enough to pace in. Above him, the sky finally appeared. A thin square of blue. For the first time in days, he felt real air touch his face. He closed his eyes and whispered, "I miss the world." That single moment of sunlight wasn't freedom. But it reminded him he was still human. And in Supermax, that reminder was everything. When silence starts talking, Marcus returned to his cell after that short hour outside. The door closed behind him with the same heavy sound, a sound that told him the world was far away. He sat on his bed, breathing slowly, trying to hold on to the fresh air he just felt. But inside the cell, the air felt still, almost frozen. Hours passed. He wasn't sure how many. Maybe 3. Maybe 5. Maybe more. Because in Supermax, time doesn't feel real. Marcus lay on his back, staring at the ceiling. He tried to remember old songs. He tried to picture his mother's face. He tried to list every street in his neighborhood, one by one. Anything to keep his mind sharp. But the silence inside a Supermax cell is not normal silence. It's different. It's heavy. It sits on your shoulders. It makes your thoughts louder. And sometimes too loud. Marcus began to hear something faint. Not a voice. Not a person. But a soft knocking pattern inside the walls. Tap, tap, tap. At first, he thought someone was trying to talk. But then he remembered. Every wall in Supermax was thick. Sound didn't travel clearly. Sometimes the pipes made noises. Sometimes the metal shifted with temperature. The sound felt too real to ignore. Marcus pressed his ear to the cold wall, listening carefully. Nothing. Then tap. One single tap. His heart jumped. He pulled away from the wall and sat down on the edge of the bed, thinking, "Is someone trying to reach me? Or is it just the building?" This was the danger of isolation. Small sounds turned into big questions. Silence turned into imagination. And imagination could turn into fear. Marcus didn't want to panic. So he started talking to himself, quietly, just to stay grounded. "Okay, stay calm. It's just a sound. You're all right." He paced around the cell to clear his head. 5 steps forward. Turn. 5 steps back. Fin. And again. After the 10th loop, he stopped. That's when he noticed something strange. The air felt colder near the door. Not the normal cold, but a deeper cold coming from the hallway. He heard a voice on a distant radio. A guard giving instructions. Another guard answering. Something was happening outside. A loud bang echoed through the hallway. Marcus froze. It wasn't close. But it wasn't far either. He didn't know if it was equipment, a door, or something else. All he knew was this. In Supermax, you don't get explanations. You don't get updates. You don't get told what's going on. You only hear the sounds. And you hope the next one isn't coming from your door. Marcus sat back down, heart beating faster, and whispered, "Please, let this day end soon." But in Supermax, days don't end. They just repeat. The man in the next cell. That night, Marcus tried to sleep, but his mind wouldn't rest. Kept thinking about the knocking, the cold air, the loud bang in the hallway. Supermax made small things feel big. Every sound felt important. Every silence felt dangerous. He rolled over on his thin mattress and closed his eyes. But then he heard something he didn't expect. A low, quiet voice. Coming from the vent near the ceiling. At first, he thought he imagined it. Voices were the easiest things to imagine in a place like this. But then it came again, clearer this time. "Hey, new guy." Marcus sat up fast. His heart thumped. Talking through vents was risky. Guards could hear. Microphones were everywhere. But the voice stayed low, almost a whisper. "Relax. I'm not trying to get you in trouble." Marcus moved closer to the vent, keeping his voice barely above a breath. "Who are you?" A small pause. "Name's Dre." Been here a long time. Marcus didn't know whether to be relieved or scared. Talking was dangerous. But hearing another human voice? That felt like medicine. He whispered back. I heard a loud noise earlier. What was that? Dre answered slowly, like he didn't want to say too much. Probably a door. Or someone refusing to cuff up. Happens sometimes. Marcus nodded, even though Dre couldn't see him. Dre continued. Listen, men. Don't let the silence get in your head. Supermax is built to make you think things that aren't real. Marcus felt that line hit him hard. Yeah. I'm already feeling it. Dre chuckled softly, the first human laugh Marcus had heard since arriving. Everybody feels it. Day 1, day 10, day 100, it don't matter. Marcus leaned against the wall, feeling slightly calmer. How long have you been here? Another pause. Then Dre said, 8 years. Marcus' chest tightened. 8 years of this? 8 years of silence, walls, and cameras? Before he could ask anything else, Dre added, you'll get used to it. Just don't let your mind fall apart. Marcus whispered back. How do you stop that from happening? Dre answered with a steady voice. Routine. You need a routine, brother. If you don't control your mind, this place will. Marcus didn't speak for a moment. He just listened to the faint hum of the vents, the quiet air, and Dre breathing on the other side of the wall. For the first time since he arrived, he didn't feel completely alone. Then Dre said something that stuck with him. Remember this. Supermax is not about walls. It's about what happens inside your head. Before Marcus could reply, he heard footsteps in the hallway. Dre whispered quickly, Guard coming. Stop talking. Marcus backed away from the vent and sat on his bed. The silence returned instantly, thick and heavy, like a blanket dropped over the world. But no, the silence wasn't as scary. Because Marcus finally knew. Someone else was fighting to survive it too. The routine that saves you. The next morning, though Marcus couldn't tell if it truly was morning, he woke up with one thing Dre said echoing in his mind. If you don't control your mind, this place will. Marcus knew he needed a plan. He couldn't just sit and let the silence break him. So he tried something simple. He made a routine. Not a perfect one. Not a big one. Just something to keep his brain alive. Step 1. Stretching. He started by stretching his arms and legs. Slow movements. Deep breaths. He counted slowly in his head. 1, 2, 3. It felt strange at first, stretching in a concrete box. But it warmed up his body and made him feel grounded. Step 2. Pacing. Next he walked the length of his cell. 5 steps forward. 5 steps back. He repeated it over and over again. In a strange way, it felt like freedom, even though he was only moving a few feet. His heartbeat calmed. His thoughts slowed down. Step 3. Mind games. Then he tried something Dre hinted at, mental exercises. He imagined his neighborhood, the streets he grew up on, the tiny store on the corner, the smell of food cooking at home. And when that made him feel sad, he switched the game. He tried to name all 50 states. He tried to remember every teacher he ever had. He counted backwards from 200. Anything to keep the silence from becoming too loud. Step 4. Talking to Dre, carefully. Later, when the hallway was quiet, Marcus whispered toward the vent. You up? A soft voice answered. Always. They talked only for a moment, never long, because getting caught could bring punishment. But even a few seconds of human connection helped. Marcus told Dre about his routine. Dre approved. Good. Keep that up. People who don't, they start slipping. Marcus knew what slipping meant. Losing track of time. Talking to yourself too much. Believing things that aren't there. Supermax could push anyone toward that edge. Step 5. Observation. Marcus began paying attention to small things he never noticed before. The sound of a guard's keys. The pattern of food delivery. The tiny draft under the cell door. The hum of the vent. The slight vibration when someone walked by. These small details helped him remember he was still connected to the outside world, even if only through sound. As the day passed, Marcus felt a small shift inside himself. He still hated the silence. He still felt trapped. But the routine gave him something powerful. Control. A tiny piece of control in a place designed to take all control away. He sat on his bed and whispered to himself, I can do this. One day at a time. Just as he started to relax, a loud, sharp alarm echoed through the hallway. The lights flickered once. Marcus jolted upright, his heart pounding. He didn't know what it meant. He didn't know if someone was hurt, or if a cell door malfunctioned, or if something bigger was happening. All he knew was, in Supermax, alarms are never a good sign. The alarm that changed everything. The alarm kept ringing, loud, sharp, and fast. It wasn't like the usual sounds Marcus heard in the hallway. This one had a sense of emergency, a sense of danger. He stood still, not moving a muscle. In Supermax, when alarms go off, inmates don't get told what's happening. No announcements. No explanations. Just noise and fear. Marcus looked at the door, half expecting it to swing open. But it stayed shut. The only thing he could do was wait. The alarm echoed again. A second round, even louder. Through the vent, he heard Dre's low whisper. Stay calm. Don't go near the door. Marcus backed up instantly. What's happening? He whispered. Dre replied. Could be anything, man. Medical emergency. Someone refusing orders. A fight somewhere else. Or a malfunction. Marcus swallowed hard. Is it serious? Dre paused. In Supermax, every alarm is serious. Footsteps in the hallway. Marcus heard fast footsteps, guards moving quickly, their radios clicking and buzzing. The air felt tight, like the whole building was holding its breath. A guard shouted down the hallway. Clear the walkway. Another voice responded. Team coming through. Marcus couldn't see anything, but he could feel the tension. The whole block vibrated softly under the guard's boots. A stretcher rolled by. The wheels clattered faintly, echoing like distant thunder. Marcus stepped closer to the door, trying to listen. He heard a guard say, Make room, they're bringing him out. His stomach tightened. Someone was being taken out of a cell. But Marcus didn't know if it was because of an accident, a medical issue, or something more serious. Dre whispered again, his voice calm but heavy. This place wears people down. Sometimes their body can't take it. Sometimes their mind can't. Marcus felt a cold wave run through him. He didn't know the inmate being moved. He didn't know what happened. But the reality of Supermax hit him hard. People weren't just locked away here. They were breaking here. The alarm ends. Suddenly, the alarm stopped. Silence filled the hallway again, but it wasn't the same silence as before. This silence felt heavier. Like something had changed. Marcus sat down slowly, his hands still shaking a little. Through the vent, Dre spoke again. You see now? Supermax is quiet, until it's not. Marcus nodded even though Dre couldn't see him. Does this happen a lot? Dre sighed. More than they'll ever admit. Marcus leaned back against the wall, trying to steady his breathing. He realized something important in that moment. This place wasn't dangerous because of fights or violence. It was dangerous because of what isolation does to people over time. Supermax didn't need to shout to hurt you. It didn't need chaos. It only needed silence. And once silence took over, men started to fall apart. When the mind starts to break. 2 days passed after the alarm incident, but Marcus still felt uneasy. His routine helped, but something inside him had changed. Every sound now felt like a warning. Every silence felt deeper. He started paying attention to the small things Dre mentioned. Things he didn't fully notice before. The way the lights buzzed faintly. The soft creak in the ceiling when the temperature shifted. The echo of footsteps far away. But then something new started happening. Something Marcus didn't expect. The first sign. It began with a whisper. A soft one. So soft he thought it came from his own thoughts. Marcus. He froze. He turned toward the vent. Silence. He whispered. Dre, was that you? No answer. He waited. Still nothing. Marcus swallowed hard and tried to shake it off. Supermax made the mind play tricks. He knew that. But deep inside, the whisper felt too real to ignore. The second sign. Later that night, while pacing the cell, Marcus heard it again. Not a voice. Not a word. Just breathing. Slow breathing. Controlled. Steady. Coming from behind him. He spun around. Nothing. He checked the vent. Nothing. He checked the door. Still locked. The breathing stopped. Marcus sat down on his bed, gripping his knees, reminding himself. Stay calm. It's just your head. Dre warned you about this. But a question began forming in his mind. One that made his palms sweat. What if it's not just in my head? Dre's warning. The next time Dre spoke through the vent, Marcus finally gathered courage to ask. Hey, do you ever hear things? Dre didn't answer right away. And when he finally did, his voice was serious. Yeah. Everyone does hear. Marcus' heart dropped. Dre continued. Isolation does things to people. Some hear whispers. Some hear footsteps. Some hear whole conversations. Marcus listened, his chest tight. Is it dangerous? Dre replied. Only if you start believing it's real. Marcus felt a cold chill. I heard someone call my name. Dre breathed in slowly. Listen, Marcus. This place is designed to break your senses. If you're hearing things, you need to double down on your routine. Don't let the walls talk louder than your mind. Marcus nodded, his voice shaky. I'm trying. Dre answered. Try harder. The third sign. The shadow. That night, Marcus stayed awake longer than usual. He stared at the door, waiting to hear the food slot open, or the guard's keys, or anything normal. He saw something move. A shadow. Silent. Passing right under the crack of light at the bottom of his door. Marcus shot to his feet. His heart raced. He pressed his face close to the door, trying to see into the hallway. Nothing. No footsteps. No voices. No movement. Just the normal cold air. Marcus backed away, breathing fast. He whispered to himself. I didn't imagine that. I know I didn't. But he didn't dare tell Dre this one. Not yet. Because Marcus wasn't sure what was scarier. Seeing something that wasn't there. Or seeing something that was there. The night the lights went out. Marcus barely slept after seeing the shadow. Every time he closed his eyes, his mind replayed it. That quick, silent movement under the door. He kept telling himself, maybe it was a guard, maybe it was the light, maybe it was nothing. But deep down, he didn't believe that. Supermax had a way of turning doubts into fears. A strange morning. When the next meal tray arrived, the guard didn't speak. He just shoved the tray through the slot and walked away fast, almost too fast. Marcus noticed it. Guards in Supermax usually moved with slow, steady steps. Routine steps. Predictable steps. But this one? He was rushing. Marcus whispered through the vent. Dre, did you hear that? Dre replied. Yeah. Something's off today. Marcus leaned closer. What do you think it is? Dre didn't answer right away. Then, in a low voice, he said, sometimes staff shortages make things tense. Sometimes they move someone. Sometimes, something happens overnight. Marcus felt his stomach twist. Something like what? Dre replied quietly. Just stay focused. Don't assume the worst. When the lights flickered, hours passed in total silence. Not the normal silence, this one felt heavier. Marcus tried to do his routine. Stretching. Breathing. Pacing. But he kept glancing at the door, waiting for something, anything. Then it happened. The lights flickered. Just once. Then again. Marcus froze. Supermax lights weren't supposed to flicker. They stayed on 24 hours a day, always bright, always steady. He whispered, Dre, you seeing this? Dre answered immediately. Yeah. That's not normal. The lights flickered a third time. Longer now. For the first time since he arrived, Marcus saw his cell dim for a second. Almost like a heartbeat. A low hum rolled through the floor. A vibration. So, like the building itself was shifting. Marcus backed up against the wall. What's happening? Dre exhaled slowly. Power? Or backup systems? Hard to tell. Marcus swallowed. Does this happen a lot? Dre replied. No. Almost never. The blackout. Then everything went dark. Completely dark. The lights cut out. The hallway went silent. The vents stopped humming. For the first time since Marcus entered Supermax, there was real darkness. Not dim light. Not shadows. Darkness. Marcus felt his chest tighten. He had never realized how much the constant bright light kept him grounded. Now everything disappeared. He whispered, "Dre, Dre, are you still there?" Silence. Marcus pressed his hands on the wall. "Dre?" Still no answer. Marcus could hear his own heartbeat. Loud, fast, echoing inside his head. He reached out in the dark, trying to touch something familiar. The bed, the wall, the toilet. But the darkness made everything feel farther away. The silence grew heavier, and heavier, and heavier. Then, from somewhere down the hallway, he heard it. A distant, heavy thud. Like something fell. Or someone. Marcus backed into the corner of his cell, breathing hard. He whispered to himself, "Please, let the lights come back, please." Minutes felt like hours. And then, the lights snapped on. Bright, cold, blinding. Marcus covered his eyes. Through the vent, Dre's voice finally returned. "Marcus, you all right?" Marcus nodded quickly, even though Dre couldn't see him. "Yeah." "What was that?" Dre exhaled. "I don't know. But whatever it was, it's not normal." Marcus sat down on his bed, his heart still racing. He thought the shadow under the door was the scariest thing so far. But after the blackout, Marcus realized something new. In Supermax, darkness is worse than silence. The unknown in the hallway. The light stayed on for the rest of the day, but something felt different now. Marcus could feel it in the air. Like the building was holding a secret. And everyone inside could sense it. Even the guards moved differently. Their footsteps were quicker. Shorter. Less relaxed. Marcus watched the bottom of his door carefully. He didn't want to see another shadow. But he also didn't want to be surprised. He whispered through the vent, "Dre, what do you think that blackout was?" Dre let out a slow breath. Could be technical. Could be a generator test. Could be them moving someone who needed extra security. Marcus leaned closer. "What about the thud? You hear it?" Dre paused before responding. "Yeah, I heard it." That pause meant something. Dre wasn't the type to panic. If he hesitated, it meant he knew more than he wanted to say. Marcus asked softly, "What do you think it was?" Dre replied in a low, steady voice. Could have been someone in distress. Could have been staff rushing equipment. Could have been an inmate having a medical emergency. "Don't assume the worst, Marcus." Marcus nodded even though Dre couldn't see him. But he couldn't shake the feeling that something had happened in the hallway. Something he wasn't supposed to know. Another strange signal. Hours later, Marcus paced his cell again, trying to calm his mind. He took slow breaths. He counted steps. He repeated names in his head. But then he felt something new. A faint tap. So soft it was almost nothing. Not from Dre. Not from the pipes. Not from the vents. This tap came from the door. Marcus froze. He stared at the bottom edge of the door, waiting. It wasn't loud. It wasn't fast. Just intentional. Marcus whispered, "Dre, you hear anything?" Dre replied immediately, "No." "What's up?" Marcus hesitated. He didn't want to sound scared. But he didn't want to lie either. "Someone tapped on my door." Dre went quiet. Too quiet. Then he said, "Marcus, guards don't tap." Marcus felt a chill. "Then who was it?" Dre continued, "Probably no one. You're new here. Your mind is still adjusting." Marcus didn't argue, but deep inside he knew what he heard. It wasn't the noise of the building. It wasn't imagination. It felt deliberate. The rolling cart. Moments later, Marcus heard a cart being pushed down the hallway. Metal wheels clattering. Something heavy on top. It rolled slowly, close, and then it stopped. Right in front of his cell. Marcus stepped back. He didn't move. He didn't breathe. A guard's voice spoke quietly, too quiet to understand. Another guard responded. Then the cart rolled again, moving away. Marcus waited for Dre to say something. Finally Dre whispered, "You okay?" Marcus nodded. "Yeah." I just don't know what that was. Dre answered. Could be supplies. Could be cleaning equipment. Could be things they don't tell us. Marcus sat back down on his bed, trying to steady his nerves. He thought the worst part of Supermax was silence. But tonight he realized something new. The unknown is even scarier. The Night Watcher. Later that night, when everything was quiet again, Marcus lay on his mattress trying to relax. But then he felt something. A presence. Not a sound. Not a voice. Feeling like someone was standing outside his door. Watching. He opened his eyes slowly. A shadow moved under the light at the bottom of the door. Not fast. Not sharp. Slow. Steady. Someone standing still. Marcus's breath froze. He whispered, Dre, there's someone outside my door. Dre's voice came immediately. Don't move. Just stay where you are. Marcus stayed still. Every muscle tight. Every thought racing. The shadow didn't move. It stayed there. For 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. Like whoever, or whatever, was listening. Then finally, the shadow disappeared. Marcus let out a shaky breath. Dre spoke again. Marcus, whatever you do, don't panic. Supermax plays with your senses. Stay grounded. Stay focused. Marcus tried to steady himself. But one truth had become clear. Something in this place wasn't adding up. And it wasn't just in his head anymore. The day everything felt wrong. Marcus woke up feeling tired even though he barely slept. His eyes were open, but his mind was still stuck on the shadow outside his door. He couldn't tell if it was real, or if the long days inside the cell were starting to bend his thoughts. But the moment he heard the hallway that morning, he knew something was different. Very different. The hallway with no voices. Normally, Marcus heard at least something in the morning. A guard giving instructions. Keys jangling. The food cart wheels. A radio crackling. But today, nothing. Total silence. Not even footsteps. Marcus sat up fast. Dre, you awake? The pause. Then Dre whispered, Yeah. Something's off. Marcus nodded silently. Even breathing felt too loud in the quiet. The food tray delay. Breakfast always came at the same time. Supermax didn't change schedules, ever. That was the one thing Marcus learned fast. But today, the breakfast tray didn't come. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then 20. Marcus sat down on the floor, staring at the slot in his door. It didn't open. He whispered, Dre, they're late. Dre replied, I know. I'm still waiting too. Marcus leaned his head back against the wall. You think something happened? Dre answered slowly, Something's happening. But we don't know what yet. The noise from down the hall. Suddenly, bang. A loud crash exploded from the far end of the hallway. So loud Marcus jumped off the bed. Something heavy had fallen. Or been pushed. Then came voices, quick, sharp, urgent. Move. Get that door. Watch yourself. Marcus froze. He had never heard guards sound like that. He whispered, Dre, what was that? Dre answered, voice low but tense. Stay away from the door. Just wait. Marcus backed up into the corner. More noise followed. Metal scraping, boots running, radios buzzing. Then for a moment, silence again. Marcus' breathing felt tight in his chest. Minutes later, footsteps approached, slowly this time. Not like the normal rhythm, but cautious. Controlled. A key turned in a door nearby. Not Marcus's, but close. He heard guards speaking softly, too soft to understand, then the door shutting again. Then another door opened. Then another. It was a slow, careful check. One cell at a time. Marcus whispered, Dre, are they checking your door? Yeah, Dre answered. They opened it. Looked inside. Didn't say anything. Marcus felt a knot form in his stomach. Why so quiet? Dre didn't answer right away. When he finally did, his voice was heavy. Because something they don't want us knowing is going on. When they reached Marcus's cell, the footsteps stopped outside Marcus's door. He held his breath. He didn't move. He didn't blink. Keys rattled. The slot opened halfway, but no tray came through. Instead, a guard's eye looked through the slot for a few seconds. Watching. Studying. Then the slot closed again. Slowly. The guards didn't speak a word. Then they walked away. Marcus's heart won't stop racing. Marcus sat on the edge of his bed, hands shaking slightly. He whispered, "Dre, what do you think they were looking for?" Dre sighed. Signs of distress. Signs someone is hurt. Or signs someone isn't responding. Marcus swallowed hard. "You mean someone in here might have?" Dre cut him off gently. "We don't know that. Don't jump to the worst." But Marcus could feel the truth inside Dre's hesitation. Something had happened overnight. The blackout. The thud. The quiet morning. The delayed food. All of it was connected. Marcus stared at the door, whispering to himself, "This place is getting inside my head." And for the first time since he arrived, Marcus wasn't just scared of the silence anymore. He was scared of the things happening behind it. The inmate who didn't answer. As the guards moved down the hallway, checking cell after cell, Marcus couldn't stop shaking. Something was wrong, he felt it in every breath. He sat quietly, listening to every sound. Then he heard it. A guard's voice, not loud, but sharp. "Cell 32. No response." Marcus froze. Dre whispered from the vent, "That's 2 doors down from you." Marcus felt his chest tighten. Another guard spoke. "Try again." Then a loud bang. A guard hitting the metal door of cell 32 with a baton. "Inmate, respond." Silence. Another bang. Then a third. Still no answer. Marcus's hands trembled. He whispered, "Dre, is he okay?" Dre didn't answer right away. Then he said, "I heard him coughing last night, but nothing since." Marcus felt cold all over. The emergency protocol. The guards' voices became urgent. "Unlock it. Call medical. Move fast." Marcus heard keys. Locks turning. A heavy door sliding open. Then more voices, too many to count. Someone said, "He's down." Marcus covered his mouth. He didn't even know the man in cell 32. He never heard his voice. Never saw his face. But hearing that word, "down," sent a chill up his spine. Dre whispered, "I knew something was wrong during the blackout." Marcus closed his eyes. The thud. The darkness. The delay. The shadow. Everything made sense now. Someone had collapsed in the night. Maybe from stress. Maybe from fear. Maybe from something medical. In Supermax, you never truly knew. The stretcher returns. Minutes passed. Then Marcus heard it. The same rolling stretcher he heard days earlier. Metal wheels. Fast footsteps. It stopped near cell 32. Muffled voices followed. Then more footsteps. The stretcher moved again, heading back down the hallway. This time, no one was trying to keep their voice down. One guard said, "It's the isolation. It gets to them." Another replied, "Yeah, and we're short-staffed. Can't watch everyone at once." Marcus felt sick hearing that. Dre whispered, "You see now? This place doesn't hurt people all at once. It hurts them slowly, quietly." Marcus whispered back, "Could that happen to us?" Dre answered with a calm voice, "Not if we stay focused. Not if we stay sharp. That's why routine matters. That's why talking, even a little, matters." Marcus nodded, even though Dre couldn't see him. He never imagined silence could be so dangerous. The guard at Marcus's door. A few minutes later, footsteps stopped again. Right in front of Marcus's cell. He stepped back instinctively. The slot opened. A guard looked in. Not rushing this time, but studying him carefully. Marcus didn't move. Didn't blink. Just waited. After a few seconds, the guard said, "You good in there?" Marcus nodded quickly. "Yes." The guard stared a moment longer. Then closed the slot and walked away. A heavy realization. Marcus sat down on the floor. His heartbeat still fast. He whispered, "Dre, why did the guard ask if I'm okay? They never do that." Dre answered slowly, "Because after what happened, they're checking to see if anyone else is starting to slip." Marcus leaned his head against the wall. He understood now. Supermax wasn't just a prison. It was a test. The test of the mind. A test most people failed over time. And with what happened in cell 32, the danger felt closer than ever. The prison built to break you. In the end, Marcus learned something most people on the outside never understand. Supermax isn't just a building with concrete walls and steel doors. It's a system designed to test the human mind. A place where silence becomes louder than screams. Where shadows feel alive. Where time stretches until you forget who you were. Where one wrong day, one blackout, one moment of fear, one unanswered knock, can push a person past their limits. Marcus didn't survive by being the strongest. He survived by holding on to the smallest things. A routine, a voice through a vent, the sound of another human being breathing on the other side of the wall. In a world where every hour felt the same, those small moments became lifelines, reminders that he was still human, in a place built to make him forget. Behind every Supermax cell door, there's someone fighting the same invisible battle. Not against guards, not against other inmates, but against the quiet force of isolation that slowly eats away at a person's mind. And that's the truth most people never see. Supermax doesn't break bodies first. It breaks the mind. Marcus never forgot Dre's words. In here, your mind is the only freedom you have left. And as the camera fades out, as the last door slams shut, one final message remains. Supermax isn't hell because of what you see. It's hell because of what you feel, and what you slowly stop feeling at all. If you made it this far, tell us in the comments. Backhand index pointing right, could you survive even one day in a place like this? Backhand index pointing right, what part shocked you the most? And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Inside Prison Walls.